Despite the fact that NATO is arguably at its most vulnerable because of the problems of the conflict in Ukraine and its lack of success, it is seeking to expand its footprint. So NATO is or was the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, focused specifically on the North Atlantic. And yet I think that what we're likely to see happen as NATO convenes in Washington is the A that has historically stood for Atlantic be changed to Asia as NATO stretches its wings. It's already doing that in efforts with its so-called global partners. It sought to establish a presence in Japan last year. NATO has been, for the best part of the last decade, deeply involved in the militarization of Ukraine. The fact that the conflict over the last 2 years has shown the limitations of all of that investment of manpower, know-how, technology, and systems suggests that NATO does not actually have, in a systemic sense, the resources and the capability to sustain its current exposure. The fact is, it is now seeking to raise more resources, strongly points to the fact that over the last 2 years, at the very least, the resources that have already been committed by NATO has been insufficient to make serious headway in the conflict with Russia. On the contrary, Russia is progressively grinding down the NATO army in Ukraine to a point where there is not a serious commentator and military observer in the world today that believes that Ukraine has any chance of turning back the tide. So NATO, unfortunately, with its back against the wall, is not seeking a pathway to peace through negotiation, but only understands a pathway defined by doubling down. This won't end well. We have an election in the United States in November this year. There is no chance that an incumbent president would want to see a recognition of defeat at the hands of the Russians before the 5th of November. So one can hope that the election will be a turning point. The other interesting things to bear in mind is that voters across Europe have demonstrated their strong opposition to an ongoing policy of war and a refusal by NATO and the political elite that back it to pursue peace through negotiations. The European parliamentary elections was a significant rebuff to the pro-war elite, and the elections in France recently reaffirmed that.